More than a year ago, a game known as Five Nights at Freddy's was released on Steam, and as with every horror game, a couple of big YouTubers decided to play it, and after a whole lot of screaming, Five Nights at Freddy's became one of the most popular horror games of all time. And a while back, I tried beating its infamous 420 mode. And if you don't want to go insane, you'll forget the mode exists. Otherwise you'll begin the quick descent into madness and orangey hell. But after 9 hours of staring at Pirate's Cove, SkyAwesomness managed to beat Five Nights at Freddy's once and for all. You know, until Scott Cawthon decided to release Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and expected everyone to have faster reaction times than a supercomputer. But what truly makes Five Nights at Freddy's so popular, and does it live up to the title of a horror game? Well, let's find out. The idea for Five Nights at Freddy's came from Scott's previous game, Chip and Sons Lumber Co. According to critics, the main character looked like an animatronic, and Jim Sterling even went as far as to call it terrifying. And can you blame him? I mean, look at it.
Watch as instead lifeless eyes stare into your soul.
At first, Cawthon was disappointed that his protagonist would give children nightmares for years to come. But one night, when the planets aligned and the heavens shone down upon Scott's house, or something, Scott got the idea to turn his nightmare of a protagonist into a game. For this game, Scott decides to implement the game mechanics from Sit and Survive to make the game a whole lot more terrifying. In the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's, there seems to be some content that goes unused. For example, animatronics can be seen staring at you if they're on stage, and how animatronics other than Foxy can be seen running down to your door. This may have been due to the limitations of the game engine. Since the engine is 2.5D, it would have been extremely difficult to implement 3D models and animation into the game. This means it would have taken a lot longer to give each individual animatronic a running animation. But enough talk about the gameplay, let's talk about the game. So we start the game and immediately see a newspaper ad for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Family Pizzeria looking for security to work the night shift from 12 to 6 a.m. Monitor cameras and ensure the safety of animatronic characters. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is not responsible for injury or dismemberment.
Hold up. Can we talk about this? It's like putting up an ad for a secretary and then the company saying, also there's a knife-wielding serial killer that comes by the office every now and then. Don't worry, he only stabbed the last 2 secretaries, I'm sure you'll be fine. If you can read the blurred text, Scott challenges us saying we won't be able to make it past night 3.
Challenge accepted.
So we get into the pizzeria and are instantly called by Phone Guy. Apparently these calls are actually pre-recorded messages. He then begins to read out some more legal stuff which is way better than the ads.
Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering the damage or death have occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property or premises.
If you haven't already spammed the escape key, Phone Guy tells us that
There's nothing to worry about.
and that the animatronics move around at night because if they stay idle for too long then their servos lock up. Or something. Apparently, the animatronics used to be allowed to move around during the day until the bite of 87 happened, which involved some guy losing his frontal lobe. He also mentions after the animatronics catch you, they'll stuff you inside a suit filled with metal wiring that will chop you to pieces. You spend the entire night watching Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy and making sure that none of them get into your office and turn you into human sushi in a bear suit. Often Bonnie or Chica will be outside your office, so you have to constantly check the left and right doors and make sure to close them when necessary. Also, this happens. Apparently the poster of Freddy's face on camera 2B sometimes changes to Golden Freddy, and when you pull down your camera, he'll be there to crash your game. The only way to beat Golden Freddy is to ignore him and pull up the camera as soon as you see him like he's just a hallucination. So we make sure to not let Demonic Freddy into our office by never staring at camera 2B. So after doing this for 6 hours, we eventually get to 6 AM, and the whole clock theme plays and the kids scream as we move on to night 2. So Phone Guy calls again and congratulates us on beating the first night, even though the animatronics didn't really move that much. Anyway, he tells us that the animatronics get more and more active as the week progresses, so we better be careful. He also mentions how the only blind spot is right outside our door. Great, how convenient. The cameras watch everywhere except where the animatronics can actually kill me. Thanks, Phone Guy. He also tells us to keep an eye on Pirate's Cove as the 4th animatronic, Foxy, tends to get active when no one's watching, similar to Weeping Angels. You know, these guys. So this night, the animatronics are a bit more active, but it's still relatively easy. Close the door when Bonnie or Chica are outside, check on Pirate's Cove every 5 seconds, and we eventually get to 6 AM. So we get to night 3, and Phone Guy tells us that he's surprised we've made it this far because
Most people don't last this long. I mean, you know, they usually move on to other things by now. I'm not implying that they died.
I like how we keep trying to make it seem like this is a normal job where there aren't animatronics stuffing night guards into human blenders. You know, except for Golden Freddy, who screams at you and sets your game on fire. So he mentions how this is the night where
Things start getting real.
So this basically means that the game just got a whole lot harder. So we have to monitor Freddy while checking up on Foxy and constantly being ready for Bonnie and Chica to appear at the door at any second as they're a whole lot more aggressive. And after doing all of this, we eventually get to 6 AM. So we get to night 4 and, well, I'm just gonna let Phone Guy do the talking.
Oh, hey, wow, day 4. I knew you could do it. I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits. I'm gonna try to hold out. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads. You know. Oh no.
So after, well, that, we check on Pirate's Cove every 5 seconds, make sure to not let Bonnie and Chica into our office and keep an eye on Freddy, since this guy's giggling all over the place and if you don't keep an eye on him he'll sneak into your office. Also, Freddy, why are you in the girls' toilets? You know what, I'm just gonna forget I ever saw that. Anyway, we get to night 5 for some reason and actually get a phone call. No, it's okay, I already gave you a funeral, you can leave me alone now. Okay, thanks Freddy, make sure to deliver that message to the children when you perform tomorrow, I'm sure they'll love it. To be honest, when I first played this game, the first time I actually died was on night 5. Why? I don't know, probably because of watching too much of this guy. So after repeating what we did on night 4, except more frantically, we finally beat 5 Nights at Freddy's and earned that lovely paycheck we risked being stuffed into a human blender for. So I woke up at nearly midnight, risked my life between the hours of 12 and 6 to make sure that the animatronics don't walk off into the street murdering people for 90's minimum wage. Oh look, they expect me to come back for another night after giving me as little as they were legally allowed to. You know, this reminds me of another game that paid me minimum wage for working all day, or I guess in this game's case all night. Because I no longer wish to risk my life for minimum wage, let's talk about presentation and gameplay. The game's visuals are actually quite simple, which work really well. The game uses pre-rendered 2D images to create the illusion of 3D due to the limitations of the 2.5D game engine. Another reason why the game may look 3D is because of the fact that Scott Cawthon created the animatronics as 3D models and then rendered them into the game as 2D images. For example, Foxy running down the corridor may look 3D, but it's actually a pre-rendered GIF. One thing that sets 5 Nights at Freddy's apart from the average horror game is the scary, intense atmosphere it creates. The cameras are dimly lit, making the player unsure of whether the animatronic is actually there. The gameplay and design choices of 5 Nights at Freddy's are centered on building the atmosphere and scaring the player. As I mentioned earlier, you have to constantly check if Bonnie or Chica are outside the door by using the lights, and close the door when they are outside to make sure that you don't die. And closing your door, using the lights, or even monitoring them via cameras all use up power. So you have to constantly monitor the animatronics while managing your power, because if you run out of power, then Freddy will play you his own personalized song and give you a costume. This creates a sense of paranoia and uncertainty as the player has to keep the doors open to beat the night. If the animatronics actually do get into the office, then the doors and lights on that side won't work. At this point, the player has 2 options: pull up the camera and get turned into human sushi, or wait it out. However, most of the time this isn't an option, because if Foxy isn't constantly monitored, then he'll run down to the office and kill you. On the first night, you have plenty of time to react to either Bonnie or Chica being outside your door. But as the week goes on, you have to react faster and faster. And while the atmosphere does make the jump scares a whole lot more scary, it begins to lose its hold over the player. Or at least it felt that way for me, as I began to expect the jump scares as the difficulty increased and the gameplay became a whole lot more repetitive. That was until nights 4, 5 and 6, 5 and 6 in particular, where one animatronic changed the formula: Freddy Fazbear. When Freddy enters the player's office, the player will most likely be unaware as the doors and lights on that side will still work, even when Freddy's inside. This makes the jump scare a whole lot more unexpected and the player more paranoid. If you beat all 5 nights, then you unlock night 6, which is way harder than night 5. And if you beat night 6, then you unlock night 7, where you get to customize the AI difficulty. Remember back when I mentioned that? If you don't want to go insane, you'll forget the mode exists. Otherwise you'll begin the quick descent into madness and orangey hell. Well, here's why. I hope you're ready.
'cause here's 420 mode.
There are two things that you need to beat 420 mode: a high skill level and a whole ton of luck. For those of you who have been living under a rock, 420 mode is the hardest difficulty level in the game. This is because the player customizes each of the animatronics AI level to 20, the highest level possible. This causes the events of each night to be completely random.
Foxy!
No matter how much you check up on Foxy, he can either run down and break your door every 5 seconds or not be active at all. The worst part is that Foxy drains more and more power each time he visits you, to the extent that if he visits you a third time, you failed. These guys are about as random as Foxy. They can either leave really early and pester you the entire night or not move at all. And if they're right outside your door, you better have lightning fast reaction times, otherwise say hello to your eternal animatronic suit.
Freddy Fazbear!
Freddy is what makes 420 mode nearly impossible. On the first few nights, Freddy barely moves and your main problems are Bonnie and Chica. And maybe Foxy if he feels like being a douche. However, from night 4 onward, Freddy becomes really active. The only way to stop Freddy is by closing the door when he reaches camera 4B. In 420 mode, Freddy will usually be right outside your door. This means that every time you check your camera, you have to close the right door, otherwise Freddy will sneak in. This means that the player can only check the cameras for a short amount of time. So the player can only use the cameras to check Pirate's Cove to keep Foxy at bay. There's a whole strategy guide in 420 mode, so I'll let that explain it to you. So with the skill level required being extremely high and the player having to be extremely lucky, this mode is nearly impossible, to the extent where the game developer himself thought it wasn't possible.
But no challenge is too difficult for the mighty SkyAwesomeness.
So after literally, I kid you not, 9 hours of failure, I finally beat 420 mode. And after beating one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life, it felt amazing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I beat 420 mode. Yes. Yes. Take that. Take that. Thank you so much to Markiplier.
Oh my god!
The completionist. And Big Bug.
Yes! Yes! Oh!
3 stars. I love those 3 stars. Oh my gosh. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's is a definitive horror experience, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who wants a scare. Although if you do want a scare, I'd recommend the latest installment in the franchise, as it's currently the best. The whole game is designed to create a feeling of fear and uncertainty to make your very presence in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza quite terrifying. And if you don't care about your sanity and want a challenge, then try beating 420 mode. Trust me, it feels amazing to beat it. So with the hidden lore that's more confusing than the Zelda timeline, which if I talked about in this video would be a lot longer than it already is, so I'm just gonna leave that to MatPat. The tense gameplay and visuals, as well as the fact that Scott created this game in only a couple of months, I'd say that Five Nights at Freddy's will forever be remembered by the YouTube community as an amazing horror game. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and a comment down below, as they both help out a ton. And if you want to see more stuff like this, then subscribe to be notified when I release a new video. Special thanks to Zoini for lending me his awesome voice to use in this video. Click here to check out one of his videos. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya!